what I'd like is for each of our panelists to introduce himself, tell the name of his organization, and I know that, Marshall, you've already done this, but for the other two panelists, to tell us what their organizations do in general, and then specifically with regard to the issues presented in the film, and then perhaps how we ourselves can make a difference. And then after that, open up the House to question and answer from the audience. So with that, gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
So, hey everybody, my name is Juan Martinez. I have a couple of titles, the primary one being the Children in Nature Network, being their Youth Leadership Development Director for the national scope of what we do. Also, National Geographic Explorer for 2011, Sierra Club Volunteer Coordinator for them, and a Green for All Fellow for the Green Jobs Initiative through that international initiative. And some of the work that we do essentially is youth leadership development, and exactly what that means and relative to what the film put out, really focusing on how the grass tops and the grassroots can work together to create synergy between all these different initiatives that are happening throughout the world that are raising people's awareness and raising people out of poverty through the green jobs and renewable energy efficiencies that are happening out there. One of the things that we notice is that we can't have this discussion without it being economically focused for people, how this moves them out of poverty and into a better life. So that's kind of the message that I've worked with. One of the reasons I think I was invited to be part of this panel. One of the things I think that we can all do to push this forward is, if you have not been a part of this conversation, to definitely look into being a part of any of the art organizations in general. But more than anything, be a part of the democracy system and putting your votes forward into things that actually move this conversation and put funding and dollars behind it.
Here. Hello, out there, past the sea of chairs here. My name is Martin Schlageter. I'm the campaign director for the Coalition for Clean Air. And we are a statewide advocacy organization that's focused on air quality issues of all kinds, energy among them. And we're really a policy-focused organization where one is working in many areas of building grassroots power and bringing them out to the polls on election day, among other things. We're focused on translating some of these ideas about what the greener economy and the greener future can be, and instituting them as rules and regulations and laws, particularly at the state level here in California, with the impact of reducing pollution ultimately. And I think that is one of the key elements of how we seize a vision of sustainability as we've been inspired by in the film today. That is, setting up rules within which our society is participating. That goes along hand in hand with individual action on conservation and purchasing green and reducing your own footprint on the earth, etc. And then I would say the third leg of that stool is the economic system. I mentioned the economics individually of bringing more people into a profitable lifestyle and out of poverty through these kinds of vehicles of the modern greener economy. But in addition, we want to, where we can, start to structure systems such that when people aren't thinking about doing the right thing, they're still doing the right thing. And fundamentally, I think that's how these three legs of the stool can go together. We're doing the right thing when we're conscious of it. We set up an economic structure and a structure of regulation such that we as individuals are doing the right thing even when we're not thinking about it, and we're preventing folks from doing the wrong thing. So I think that's how our organization views our role on the policy front. And certainly there's a lot of opportunities here in Los Angeles and individually to plug in, so to speak, to the cleaner energy future. Happy to talk about that at greater length later. Thank you.
Great. So again, my name is Marshall Wright. I work with Environment California, and so I think our group is a little bit of a combination of both. I mean, we work to build certainly the grassroots network for California, and then operate in the State House. Dan Jacobson's our legislative director. Bernadette Del Chiaro's up there with their energy program, working hand in hand with the governor's office right now to get his goal of 12 gigawatts of locally generated power, make that a success, and certainly reach the goal of 33% renewable energy by 2020. And I think, I think the best way to get involved, I think, Juan, you said it best, it's getting your voice heard, using the power of the vote. I think we saw a huge, huge example of that last year with the Proposition 23. How many of you guys knew about Proposition 23? Okay, show of hands. Great, so most of you knew about it. I mean, that was basically 2 Texas oil companies, with a lot of money, really trying to basically wipe out our global warming protection laws, our renewable energy laws, and we killed it. I mean, we stepped up, we organized all groups together, we came together, we worked together, and I mean, more people voted against that proposition than voted for the governor. I mean, that's impressive. And we killed it. We basically said, we're not going to stand up for it. So, yeah, I think we all deserve a round of applause. I think that's the type of action we'll see moving forward. California sent a clear message to its administration saying, hey, we're for clean energy, we're for getting this stuff done. And so even though, we're sort of in an interesting situation economically, we're still powering through that. Setting the goals as they should be, and moving forward, and really setting an example for other states. I think that's a really great thing to note, is that with our big global warming protection laws, AB 32, which basically set the stage, other states have come along. New Jersey has a carbon cap. I mean, it's really, Texas is investing heavily into wind. So you see a lot of the downstream benefits of standing strong like that. So again, another round of applause for
Let me, if you don't mind, I want to build off of this Prop 23 discussion just for a moment, because I saw a lot of folks who recognized that. We applauded ourselves, as we should. And what that size of that vote for a clean energy future means to me is that we have a general recognition, a general support that a clean energy future is desirable. And people voted for it against those who said it wasn't possible. So it's desirable. We have a popular expression that it's possible. We are now at the moment where it has to be actualized. And I believe we're in a very critical decade, if that long, that we show we have achieved not an entirely green, sustainable economy necessarily, but that we have achieved much of the promise of those who voted for a greener economy. And where we falter, then we put at risk our leadership in the country and the world. And I say that as much as a challenge to our own environmental organizations and institutions here, that we've got to make some things happen. We've got to put folks to work, as was indicated. We've got to enable projects that we want to get built, as well as maintain the popular support and really refute naysayers along the way. But I feel we're in a very critical next few years on this particular issue. We have inspired folks here in California that a green energy future is desirable and possible. and we really have to make a lot of it happen now. And with that, then, we'll be setting some more models for the rest of the country, as California always has. Are there some examples of sort of this green job path that, you know, people are plugging into here in LA that you can speak to? I'm thinking in particular of the, you know, the Apollo Alliance format that we're trying to do in the city of LA, but maybe there's some other stuff that, you know, I think, can you draw us a picture of a couple things that are happening that we you know, really need to actualize in the coming couple of years?
Yeah, I think, you know, a couple of examples that I can give out from the top of my head are, you know, Homeboy Industries now has a job employment program where they qualify their members to become solar panel installers and solar technology technicians in that sense, and creates a direct link from, you know, the need for these experts in developing new technologies and installing them actually into the communities to, you know, getting actual jobs for people that need them. The LA Community College District is leading the way throughout the United States in providing the curriculum for these people to actually get the hands-on expertise and the needed job opportunity, and filling that job demand that's out there for people who are experts in this field. You know, urban agriculture throughout the city of LA. We have the South Central farmers who are still doing their thing, and the farm, the local, farmers market model that, you know, California really initiated, you know, was at the frontier of making locally grown food available to people who were on subsidized food vouchers. California really led the way in that sense, and from what I hear now, not only will those locally food deserts will they be diminished, but, you know, companies are coming in and saying that we have some solutions for them. So I mean, those are just some of the examples that are out in the field that we are working with. That's what it looks like for us when we talk about, you know, a green economy. There's a saying out there that says, you know, nothing stops a bullet like a job. And if, you know, once we are able to realize that through creating job employment and opportunities and making economic and financial sense to those individuals, then I think the green economy makes a lot more sense to everybody involved.
Excellent. Should we open it up to questions, or do we have
Yeah,
another?
I think so. Sounds like a good idea.
Please, in the audience.
Are there any questions out there?
Down here in the front row there.
You know, if we were really conserving energy, we wouldn't have to shout quite so much.
I have a kind of obvious mundane question. My question is, why on earth aren't every single one of these seats filled when we're in the middle of Hollywood? And now, you guys are just basically preaching to the converted, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just a handful of people here, and it's like, it's just frustrating to me, because it's like, I'm wondering, can we, I mean, it sounds, but can we, maybe as an environmental group or movement, kind of look a little bit into like better PR also? Because I think that's an aspect of sort of reaching like the lay people who just wouldn't even have known about this screening. You know, maybe trying to partner up with some really high-powered PR agencies, of which there are many here in this town, who probably some of them would love the feather in their cap of doing some pro bono work for a movie like this.
So, did folks up there hear the comment?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Great.
It just seems
Sure.
sad to me, because you guys are so inspiring, so knowledgeable. The movie was absolutely mind-bogglingly incredible. And yet, you know, the 10 of us will now leave here and be like, wow, that was life-changing.
We'll meet y'all at the whole
Wouldn't it be great
field.
if there were, you know, however many the capacity of this room was, could go into their Facebook pages and communities and spread that to, it just seems, it seems like we go in this little loop sometimes
Right.
within ourselves. You know?
I think, you know, I think you have a really strong point there. We've been doing a lot of work, but my job primarily is focused on getting the message out to a broader audience. And we've done a lot of work with Hollywood through celebrities. So for instance, Rosario Dawson and Amy Smart and Rochelle Aviv came up with us to Sacramento last year around a bag bill ban. That was this little bill that had no real, I mean, no one's really talking about it at all. And there wasn't a lot of hope to get it through even the assembly on a vote, right? And you know, after our lobbying efforts, we got the word out through grassroots organizing with canvas operations. Actually go and we'll stand on street corners and talk to people who might have never had a political conversation in their life, and will be engaged for the first time on a street corner or on the door knocking. And so, I think it's a multi-level approach. With as much information as we're being thrown at, a really key PR effort can go a long way. But I think what we've found, at least, is the most important thing and the most effective thing through environmentalism, through political work, through anything, is a peer-to-peer conversation.
Well, but the peer-to-peer conversations are going to be so many more if there are more butts and seats. You know what I mean? Like for this kind of thing, they mentioned George Clooney, Matt Damon, and Leo DiCaprio in
Sure.
the Tesla sequence. Why not approach their? This is just an idea, brainstorming.
Yeah.
Why not approach those, George Clooney or Matt Damon's or Leonardo DiCaprio, very, very involved in Advocacy, for example. Why not approach, those actors' personal publicists, literally just call them up and be like, we don't have money to hire you, but watch this movie. Your client is, featured in it, essentially, and help us out. It would be probably no skin off their back, and it would be a huge boon to them, just, politically, PC-wise.
Sure.
Advertise that they were the company that, helped this movie out.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and just to add to that point, I think, there's kind of a misconception of, we have to set something up and they will come. Essentially, if we want to really create this fourth revolution, we have to take the message to the people and to the masses and meet them where they are already. This is one tactic of doing that, hosting a film festival. Definitely more power for us for hosting this and preaching to the choir. But I think more than anything, we have to think about that one individual within our own circles that isn't a part of this conversation that can be a part of it. And taking this message there, they're not going to come to this film festival because they're not interested. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. But if each one of us can commit today to taking this message out into the masses, out into somebody who we know personally that is not part of this conversation, then I think this film will have served its purpose, and so will the Artivist Festival.
I love that idea. Well, I mean, we do preach to the choir, and that's a good thing because the choir has to practice, to sound good. But who's the person that would be interested in watching a movie, but maybe not interested in watching an activist movie, right? So if we can, this is an idea of this festival, I believe, as someone who isn't an organizer of it. It's emphasizing the art part of the Artivist Festival. Could we draw some folks in that wouldn't otherwise come? So to that end, who came with a friend who wouldn't otherwise have been here? Anybody? So there's a couple people who dragged somebody else out, but we could all, and I was thinking to myself here, well, I should have dragged a friend here, and I didn't do that. All right, let's take another question. I saw one right up in the center there. Yeah.
I just wanted to make an aside to that, which is that I sent this out to 5 or 6 people in this email, and I could have sent that to 50. And I could have written a note, and I could have said, get your ass over here, this is important. And probably I would have had a dozen people come. So it's like, I sent it out, but I didn't do as much as I could. And
So
I'm feeling that maybe all of us, that there's more that we can do. We're just short of feeling like, we're taking one step, there's probably 3 more steps that we can all take. And exponentially, that's how it will build.
I think it's a great idea. You heard her idea. Send this out to folks on your social networks or on your email. Because, in fact, it's happening tomorrow, too. So let's take another question over here, up on the left there, yeah.
What comes up for me watching this is, what's it going to take for this to happen here? I remember years it out there, instead of expanding, close down.
Yeah.
And, you know, we see these huge efforts in other countries, and no huge efforts here. And they mentioned that it's possible that we could power all of California just by putting some solar in the deserts here. What is stopping that from happening? What would make it happen?
The great question. The question: what has to happen for this to take hold here in Los Angeles and California? What's preventing that?
Sure.
Do you want to start?
I think, well, yeah. What I thought was really interesting about the film, and a great message to really take away, is the autonomy of it all. And I think what the governor's putting forth right now is local generation. So from your house to your house, from your roof to your house. And there are a lot of roadblocks to creating massive solar fields in the desert. But I think we can all put up a solar panel. I mean, I go and visit with members of Environment California about 4 times a year. I actually go out and spend about 2 weeks just going and meet with members, talk to them, see how they're doing, see what they're interested in, have they heard about our campaign, stuff like that. And I was meeting with this fellow in Venice, and he had just put up solar panels. He leased the solar panels, and he's basically zeroed out costs. So it's totally possible to be energy, to be energy independent on your own, and he can sell back juice to the electric company. And if he decides to sell the house, he can sell the house with the lease on top of it. He doesn't have to pay for repairs. They come out and pay. I mean, it's a really interesting concept to be, energy independent on your own, and start sort of the revolution that way. So that's just one thing I think to take away, is that autonomy is a really interesting concept as well. That we don't just have to build them out in the desert. We can actually get things moving on the local level.
Yes, and I think that's important, but I wonder, what are the stopgaps we see to it happening on the scale?
On the what scale?
On the larger scale.
Online. Well, can I speak for a second from Los Angeles perspective? When I joined Coalition for Clean Air 9 years ago, it was to work on energy issues at the Department of Water and Power. And what we succeeded in doing is establishing a renewable target, a target for how much percentage of their energy needed to come from renewable energy. And contrary to the perception that nothing is happening, we in fact, since that was set in about 2004, we have at the Los Angeles Department of Water gone from what was just over 2% renewable energy to, we reached almost 20% last year, but it's starting to slide back down. At any rate, even in worst case scenario, in 2 years we'd be back down to 13%. That's still a considerable amount of change in what is the nation's largest municipal utility. Now, that's not to say things are rosy, because as I indicated, it is vulnerable. The question is, how do we protect the gains that we've made, and how do we make further gains? And right now, the city of Los Angeles and its energy debate is really a microcosm, though one based in a more progressive city, of the national debate of, government is bad versus government has a role. We own our public utility. We've set targets for it. It doesn't do everything perfectly, for sure. It doesn't communicate very well. It could use some PR advice, no doubt. It is still very low rates relative to our neighboring cities and counties. But it is under incredible pressure from folks who either opportunistically or ideologically want to criticize government. And listen, I joined the battle to criticize the Department of Water and Power because they have a very dirty portfolio, and they still do. Sierra Club and Environment California are among our closest partners in fighting this effort. However, we've made gains. And we need to make sure that current debates over keep the government out of my keep the government out of my backyard here, keep the government out of my pockets. I want to get by on the cheapest power bill possible. That just isn't compatible with trying to change the nation's largest municipal utility in the country such that we are shifting away from planet-threatening coal to more renewable sources. Now, I see a signal that we need to start wrapping up, but let's add to it, and then I just want to invite that we'll be around, we can talk some more.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, just, okay, yeah. I think just a simple explanation to why we haven't at least jumped towards that is an infrastructure issue, an expense of building, direct current power lines to transmission lines to get that energy directly into the cities that need it the most. So updating that, I mean, we have to be realistic in the dollar senses right now. Localized generated power is really, it's a great solution to getting around the fundamental costs of a major project like that. Although, as the gentleman from China said, as 1% increase in efficiency, 6% was it 6%? 6% decrease in cost. So you're going to see solar power being right on par with coal in the next few years. So that's really exciting news, and could potentially make a project like that certainly jump started quicker.
Great. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much. We could go on forever, but our next day is starting. Thank you for being here, and let's all take it to the next step. Thank you so much.